Hi everyone, hi LinkedIn, hi managers. My name's Katie Seche and I'm a neuro-inclusion navigator here to support you every Tuesday on any question you have around neurodivergence in the workplace. You can ask me anything about accommodations, interventions, support that you will need as a manager to support your neurodivergent employees and to get the best out of your team. So for anyone who has a question, please feel free to stick it in the comments and I'll get round to it. I'll be live for 15 minutes and I'll be here every Tuesday at the same time, 1:30 p.m. UK time, to answer your questions. It's interesting to think about neurodivergence. There's so much in the media now and on socials about autism, ADHD, dyspraxia, dyslexia, and it's a catch-all term. So there are so many different neurotypes that come under the term neurodivergence, this umbrella term. And neurodiversity is often conflated with neurodivergence. And it's good to clarify the difference because people often mistake the two. And neurodiversity is everyone in the world. The global population is neurodiverse. We all think differently, we all learn differently, we all consume information and make sense of it differently. And we experience the world differently too. But neurodivergence relates to specific neurotypes like autism, ADHD, dyspraxia, dyslexia, Tourette's, and so on. So there's a clear difference between the two, and neuro-inclusion relates to different ways of understanding and communicating, but specifically relates to neurodivergent neurotypes. And as a manager, it's so pivotal for you to be able to adapt your communication style to suit the diverse range of people that you will have in your team, your diverse range of direct reports and employees. It's really important that you understand that the way that you communicate is going to be impacted by the individuals that you have working for you. So it's really worth just taking the time to think about your communication style. And that's what my program and my coaching does. So my collab for neurodivergence comms method will help you to find that balance, that equilibrium between communicating in a way that you feel comfortable with and communicating in a way that matches with your direct reports. So communication is so key when it comes to neurodivergence and neuro-inclusion. I am a 25-year veteran in communications, corporate communications and internal communications. And I can tell you that the way that you communicate, the way that you interact with your team members makes all the difference. It makes a massive impact on the employee experience. Your direct reports will really feel the difference in terms of the way that you communicate. And if you communicate in a way which is inclusive, it will tell on your results, on the trust, the relationships, how cohesive the team is as a whole. So it's really worth thinking about communication, and that's why my method is so powerful, because it really does focus on communication and collaboration in order to understand how to create an environment and a culture that fits with that neuro-inclusive approach, that neuro-inclusive culture. When employees who are neurodivergent work in an environment of trust, they feel so much more comfortable. It's easier for them to get the work done in a way that suits them. They're productive. And the most important thing is they can do their best work and they feel good about it. and you can harness those amazing skills that so many neurodivergent people have, to do with hyperfocus, monotropism, focusing on one specific topic and deep diving into it, intense focus for a long period of time, multitasking, creativity, innovation, design thinking, out of the box thinking is one of the key talents of neurodivergent people. And obviously everyone's different. There's no one size fits all approach to talents and skills, but neurodivergent people in particular have unique skills that they can really use to great effect in a working environment. But if their management is not, conducive to creating that environment, they're going to find it hard to do their best work. So you as a manager have that role to play in harnessing their skills by creating an inclusive environment, an inclusive culture, and one that really raises them up and helps them to show off their skills and talents in the best way possible. Now, this Q&A is designed to support managers with any questions that you might have around how to provide accommodations and interventions for your neurodivergent employees. And you might say to yourself, well, I don't have any neurodivergent team members or direct reports. But the reality is that there are quite a few neurodivergent people in the world. 15 to 20% of people are estimated currently to be neurodivergent. Many of them are undiagnosed. Many of them are diagnosed but don't disclose. And some people are even unaware that they are neurodivergent. So if you have a team, it's very likely that you will have neurodivergent people in your team, and they may not know it, and you certainly wouldn't know. But it's really important that you identify neurodivergent traits and behaviors in your team that you're seeing as neurodivergent traits and behaviors, and not as something else, something which is negative and attracts some kind of punitive action, which is often the case. So many managers see behaviors and incorrectly categorize them as poor attitude, poor behavior, laziness, incompetence, disorganization, and it's none of those. It's just that you're not understanding what your team members need in order to work in a way that suits you, suits them, and works well for the team and for the organization as a whole. And it's very small tweaks, tiny shifts in your behavior and in your interaction style that will make all the difference. The way that you interact with your team is just as important as the way that they interact with you individually and as a collective. So it's really worth taking the time to do that. Performance management is something I've discussed on LinkedIn Live before, and its connection to neurodivergence in a very negative way. So unfortunately, many neurodivergent employees are categorized in this very negative light because their managers are not understanding that they're neurodivergent. As I said before, they may not understand themselves. And so therefore they're being put on performance improvement plans. And this is something that happens quite often, either put on PIPs, as they're known for short, or they're downgraded in their appraisal, their annual appraisal or biannual appraisal. And this is devastating for everyone, but particularly the neurodivergent employee, who will perceive themselves perhaps in a negative way because of the way that they've been downgraded. And if you think about it, clearly the way that they are behaving is just a manifestation of the way that they've been treated, and the way that they're interacting with the world doesn't align necessarily with everyone else's interactions. So it's something that people need to be really aware of. You as a team manager are the core, the crucial element of the team in terms of how it functions, how everyone communicates, the trust that's built, the relationships that are carved out within the organization, and how you can connect the dots between different departments and different teams. The way that you operate as a manager is key to all of those things. And your team, your direct reports will rely on your ability to effectively interact, effectively make those connections and create those dots to build that picture of how your team fits into the overall structure and the way that you're contributing to the overall strategy. And if you understand your team really well, because that's what it comes down to, as a manager, you need to really understand your team, direct reports as individuals, whether they're neurodivergent or not, but particularly when they're neurodivergent, because of the unique ways in which neurodivergent people communicate and interact with one another and with everyone else and with the world and with you as their manager. It's really important that you take the time to get to know them, because, as I said, there's no one size fits all. You know, one autistic person is one autistic person. One person with ADHD is one person with ADHD. And the way that they will experience the working environment will be very different for each individual. So it's really important that you understand that fact, you understand them as individuals, and you take the steps to put in the right processes, put the right communication style and approach into practice to be able to, harness those amazing skills and create that trust, that strong bond that's going to make you productive, make the team productive, make your team efficient, and basically a success overall, and ultimately a high performing team. That's what I really am here for as a neuro inclusion consultant. I am here to support managers to create that high performing team in a way that is going to meet with everyone's requirements. And it's not as hard as it sounds. As you're a manager, you've got so many priorities, some of them conflicting, so many challenges, so many projects to tackle as a team, as well as your own, individual tasks and projects. But as a manager, you know that when you are leading a team, the most important thing is to serve that team and to support that team to do its best work. And when you move from that level of individual contributor to manager, it's a really massive step. And so I'm here to support, particularly with managers who've got new teams that are new to them. They don't know each other very well, and they're just getting into that sort of forming stage where you're building those initial connections and trying to test the water and see who is who and how each person interacts with one another. That's the key stage for you as a manager to seek support, one-to-one coaching, to really understand how neurodivergence shows up in workplaces and in teams, and to get ahead of the curve by understanding what it is you're seeing and not incorrectly and misconstruing, behaviors and traits, and incorrectly and saying, oh, what I'm seeing here is something negative. It's something that I can't control. It's something that, is a bad thing and that I have to somehow get rid of. It's never as straightforward as that. It's always something that can be worked through with the right level of understanding. And the best way to get that level of understanding is by working with someone like me who understands neurodivergence really well, and how it presents in workplace settings. And my background is as a neuro inclusion consultant. My children are both neurodivergent. I'm undiagnosed myself, but I suspect I have ADHD, self-diagnosed, as many people are doing now, because they don't want to go on a 10-year waiting list. And I'm passionate about the working environment and how to support neurodivergent people to get the best out of them, because we are very talented, we have unique skills, but the only way that you're going to be able to get hold of those skills, to harness those talents, is by understanding the individuals and the role that neurodivergence plays in your workplace. So if you do have any questions, you can save them up every week for this LinkedIn Live, Tuesday, 1:30. You can connect to it via my profile. It will be recorded, so you can watch it on playback too. And if you have any questions that you want to submit because you can't join live, then DM them via LinkedIn, or you can send them to me via email, which is kateesiche@wheretolookcomms.co.uk. That's Kate Esiche at wheretolookcomms.co.uk. It's 15 minutes now. That's the end of this week's show. But see you next week, Tuesday, 1:30. And yeah, bring your questions. Cheers.